Here's one towards the goal. That's going to be gloved by Travis Ridgen.
Well, this is more like it.
This is Slangin' the Biscuit. Here's Travis Ridgen and Dave Wheeler.
Ladies and gentlemen, lads and ladies, welcome back to Slinging the Biscuit as a part of our summer interview series. Today's guest, he is born and raised in Red Deer, Alberta, somewhere between Edmonton and Calgary, but don't let that fool you, folks. He is the pride of the spruce capital of the world, former Prince George Cougar. He played over 300 NHL games, over 100 wins, playing for the Blues, Predators, Thrashers, and our hometown Winnipeg Jets. This guy is also a black belt, BJJ, cold plunge enthusiast, sauna aficionado. I've actually been trying to get Dave to go in on the cold plunge with me, but no luck. Maybe me and Mace can chat about it later on. Welcome to the show, Chris Mason.
Robbie, you did the research, bud.
I texted you this afternoon. I told you I was
I'm
doing
a
my
white
prep.
belt, by the way. I'm just a white belt, one stripe white belt. So I'm just getting into the jiu-jitsu thing. So you got everything else right except for the black belt, white belt. That's it.
Mace, we don't see color on this show.
Well, no, that's good. That's why I listen to you guys.
We're a very inclusive show. We always have been.
Hey, Mace, listen, as far as research goes, I was cramming a little bit. And there are so many really cool, like, little niche stats. Like, oh, shit, he's got goals in the NHL and American League. He's been credited like one of the few goaltenders to do it. Like, there's just these little, really quirky ones. Are there any that stand out in your mind that you go, yeah, I'm kind of proud of that one?
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. I do have a goal in the American League and the NHL, but both goals, I don't know if this has ever happened. Both goals, I did not shoot either of them. So they went off of a save, and a forward picked up the puck in the corner, and then on a delayed penalty, literally both of them. One was in Utah, the old Utah Grizzlies in the IHL, and the other one was in Nashville. And so the forward gets it, and he's trying to throw it back to the D-man, and it skipped over the stick or missed and went in the net. I got credit for it. So I didn't know I actually got the one in Nashville because at first they gave it to Vern Fiddler, and then in the intermission somebody said, "I think you got that goal." I'm like, "Really?" And I was like, "Well, Fids can keep it." I'm like, "I don't really care if I get a goal or not." I'm like, "Fids needs it more than I do." So, but I got credit for it, and they gave me a puck. This first NHL goal, so I got a puck for that, but I didn't get a puck for my first win. So I have that somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I have a plaque that says first NHL goal. So it's kind of cool, I guess. But
that's pretty neat.
Was there a performance bonus for that one? A nice little check for getting your first goal?
Yeah, no, I wasn't. There's no bonuses in my contract. You should be lucky to be in the league, bud. That's about it.
Speaking of bonuses, we ask all players, this one, former players, what did you do with that first big NHL check that you got?
This is a good story because it involves. Do you guys remember the name? Oh, you probably know Wade Brookbank.
Yeah, of course.
You know that name?
Yep.
So him and I got picked. They used to have a waiver draft after training camp. So you go to training camp, and I was actually in Florida's camp. And then after training camp, they have a waiver draft, and the teams could only protect, a certain amount of players. And then there's a weird thing with goalies, though. It was like, if a goalie's taken, then you have to expose somebody else or blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Yanni Herme got taken by somebody. I think it might have been Ottawa. And then so they kind of screwed up how they did it, Florida did. And then I became available, and Nashville picked me back up. Actually, I went from Florida to Nashville. I played in the minors for 6 years in Milwaukee. And I was at Florida. I played in San Antonio in the minors there. And then I was probably going to be in San Antonio again. And I got picked up by Nashville. So Wade Brookbank got picked up from Ottawa. And so we got there. We're like, holy shit, this is awesome. We're in the NHL, because they can't send you down after that for 30 days or whatever. And him and I never played. Thomas Volkoon played 70 games that year. I got, 10 games a year. And so we're getting bagged left and right. Like, it's 2 weeks into the season, and Barry Trotz and whatever the assistant coaches were just like, we're just happy to be there. And so we get killed one day, and then we're going to walk over the bridge. That we're going to go to our first Titans game. And we got our checks. It was like, 2 weeks into the season. So we're walking across the bridge. We're like, hey, don't open it. So we walk across the bridge, and we get halfway, and we open the check, and we looked at it, and Wade Brookbank goes, bag me all you want. It was hilarious. And that was like, which was a lot of money, but we're making $400,000 at that time. That was like minimum. Whatever the minimum was, that's what we were making. But oh my God, we laughed. We're so dead. Like, we were struggling walking across the bridge. It was hot out, But he said that, and we just died. I died laughing. We just had a good laugh about that. So that was the first one. But, when you go from making 40,000, 50, 60,000 max in the minors at that point, I think the best guys probably got like 100 grand, 150 maybe for the guys that played in the NHL and that were stars in the American League or the IHL. But it was, it's life changing for a guy from Red Deer. You go, holy shit, this is it was.
So what did you do with the actual money? Was there a big purchase? Was there a car? Was there a hat? What was it? A watch?
No, I probably did that later. Got a couple things. I'm not a big, material or vehicle guy or anything like that. So I don't know. There's nothing specific. I know when I first signed my NHL contract, I bought a Ford Explorer. so that was my big purchase, because my graduation present from my parents was an Oldsmobile Delta 88 that was theirs for the last 10 years. So I had that for 2 years until I had to give it back to my brother, who graduated 2 years later, as his graduation present. But when I bought that vehicle, it was pretty cool. Just to be able to, to do that, I guess, was kind of neat.
Pretty cool.
Where is it now?
I don't know. I have no idea. I would give anything to get that car back, my first car. I think when you get older, wheels, you're still pretty young, Travie, but I think when you get older, those things mean a lot more to you.
Absolutely.
But, just all the memories and I don't know, but I wish I had kept that. It would have been a classic by now.
All the stains in the back seat.
Okay.
Oh yeah. couple.
No, Mason and I come from the generation where they're mostly cigarette butts.
Oh yeah. Pack the old dart back there, that's for sure.
Yeah,
back in the day.
Put it out in the
seat. It was
seat.
okay. It was acceptable back then.
Totally. Absolutely it was. I got to ask you this question. When it comes to people that make the NHL, that percentage is very small. To be able to stay involved in the game, regardless of what capacity, whether it be in coaching, whether it be in scouting, whether it be in broadcasting, that percentage gets even smaller and smaller and smaller. At what point did you start thinking about it, going, what am I going to do after, and how did you work towards that?
Well, that's a good question, because I didn't necessarily want to get into broadcasting. I didn't really, know anything about it. It wasn't my plan. I think, everybody, when they're playing hockey, and you guys can speak to this, you think you're going to play forever. And I had a long career. I was very fortunate to kind of retire on my own terms. I think I was 38 or something like that when I retired. I went to play Europe for a couple years.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you about that later for sure.
My family. And but when I was playing with Nashville, and Nashville wasn't a big hockey market at the time. And so one time my boss now, Bob Cole, not the Bob Cole, but a different one. He's a legend in his own way. But he said, hey, Mace, he goes, you're not playing a lot of games. He's like, would you have a problem if we put a headset on you in the third period and then you talk to the broadcast as the play was going on? And I said, yeah, sure. I said, if it's okay with the coaches and they're, they don't care. And it was Barry Trotz. He's like, no, go for it. He's like, go ahead. So in the third period, at the 10-minute mark, they put the headset on me and we talk about the game and do all that kind of stuff. And as we started doing that, my boss now said, hey, if you ever, retire or come back to Nashville and you want to, try broadcasting, we'd love to try you out. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Not really thinking anything of it. And then old father time comes, I retired and I moved back to Nashville, and he didn't forget. He actually called me in 2013 when my last year in the NHL was with Nashville. And he called me that summer. He goes, hey, what's your plans? I just want to check in. I remember we talked, it was like 10 years ago, probably, that we talked about, well, probably about 8. And then I moved back. I started coaching. I wanted to coach first. So I coached here, coached the goalies and doing that stuff. And I really loved doing that. And he said, Brent Peterson was the radio guy at the time, and he had Parkinson's. So he was having trouble traveling. He said, hey, would you be open to, doing half the games, just go on the road and travel? I was like, yeah, sure. I'll try it. I was kind of nervous. I didn't really know anything about it or how to do it. And, you always think like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, I don't know how to do this. But as that went on, I started to really love it. Like I thought, after you're done playing, it's such a weird feeling because, I'm around the guys I played at that point. I would still played with probably half the guys on the team. So it was really weird being around the room and, doing my job. And, I just felt really uncomfortable in that kind of situation. But as it went on and as the years went on, I just fell in love with it because, as you guys know, and and Trav, I'm sure you too, and Dave, you've been in broadcasting a long time. Like that becomes your team. Like they were so passionate about it. Pete Weber, Willie Donick when I first started, Stu Grimson. You're getting ready for the game and you're doing all those things. And I fell in love with it. It's just, it's such an honor. And I feel very fortunate to do it. I talked with a lot of guys before that did it when I was getting into it. Tyson Nash, guys that I know and played against, and Jody Shelley, Darren Pang. I called all those guys, Kelly Chase. And I said, what do I do? And they're like, just be yourself. Just talk about the game. You know the game. You don't have to be, too crazy deep about it. Just, tell stories and talk about the game, and fell in love with it.
How often when you're doing the broadcast does a story come up in your mind? You're like, oh, I'd love to tell this. Like, wait, no, that's going to break one of the 3 cardinal rules of broadcasting. Damn it.
Oh, my God. All the time, especially when there's a guy, like when they ask you about guys, like they ask me about, everyone asks me because Shea Weber got inducted in the Hall of Fame last year. He's getting inducted in the Tennessee Hall of Fame this summer. And I just did a thing and they're like, do you have any good stories about Shea Weber? Like Pekka Rinne was the year before. And I'm like, man, I have a lot of stories, but I really can't tell them right now because you know how it goes. It's usually the fun nights out and all that kind of stuff. And during the game, you know a guy, whether it's a good or bad story, it's definitely in the back of your mind.
Yeah, Shea Weber, man. I'm happy to hear that. Did he actually stick around? Is he still moving around Nashville there a little bit?
Yeah, he comes back now. He was crushed when he got traded from here to Montreal for Subban. Like he was floored. Like David Poyle, I guess at one point had told him, I'm never gonna trade you. You'll be a Nashville Predator for life, kind of thing. Earlier in his career, and he wanted to stay here. When Ryan Suter went and signed with Mini, they could have signed like twin deals, I think, the year before. And Weber was really trying to get Suter to stay, and he decided to go sign in Minnesota. So he's kind of rattled about that. But when he got traded, he was crushed, and he couldn't come back. He came back one time, I think it was for Roman Yossi's wedding. And I met him, and we went out with a bunch of the guys and got chatting. But I talked to him after he got traded because he was on a boat. He didn't even know. He was like shocked. But yeah, he comes back now though. He's retired. He's not playing anymore. He's still under contract, so he can't be hired by the Nashville Predators. I know they want to get him involved in some capacity eventually, which would be a great thing. But yeah, it took him a while to get over that for sure.
I'm assuming the advice you gave him was, don't worry, everyone comes back to Nashville. I've done it 3 times.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know what? He's making freaking $10 million a year, whatever the heck it was. I'm like, you'll be okay. You'll be okay, bud. But it's just like, he's such a loyal guy. Like, now I think in sports, like teams, like I think they feast on the players' loyalty, but I don't think they have the same loyalty.
Well, did you get that sense? Because I mean, you started with Victoria, then you went to Prince George, and so you kind of understood the moving a little bit. But once you got into the league and you saw that movement up, down, left, right, did you kind of throw loyalty out the window?
I never did because I'm like, like a lot of Western Canadian people. It's like, I'm from Red Deer, Alberta. I'm like, someone believes in me and they're going to show me faith and give me an opportunity. I'm like, I'll do whatever you want. I'll stay here. I'll take less to do this, all those kind of things. And I think now, with the education and agents and social media, I think there's a lot more, what other people make now. Everything's out there, state taxes, all this kind of stuff. So I think there's a lot more education. I think players now are getting a lot better direction than I was back in the day. And probably before that, back in the olden days, they knew nothing. The owners are making all this money and taking advantage of players. And, even when ownership says, well, we're losing money every year. Meanwhile, their team, the value of their team is skyrocketing. And so I think people know a lot more, and there's people that are loyal. And I guess, at the end of the day, you have to look out for yourself, but at the same time, be a good person and do all that kind of stuff. But, when I played, I was like that too. I was just loyal to the team that gave me a chance. And, I was fortunate enough to play in the NHL for 11 years, and I was grateful for that. So that was always good enough for me.
Money aside, after you made the jump over to Europe, is there a part of you that wished you would have done it a little bit sooner?
There was. I loved it. I know you played over there, Trav. It's like a completely different vibe. I loved it so much. It was fun. The fans were just nuts and crazy. And, I played in smaller leagues. I played in Norway, I played in the DEL, and then I played in Italy one year, my first year, and I actually turned down a contract with the Florida Panthers. I could have made $1 million. Instead, I made 50,000 euros in Italy to go play over there, just because, I knew I was done. Wanted to have, one good year with the family and experience something that I knew that we wouldn't have another opportunity to do with the kids getting older, and wanted to get roots. My oldest one was 11 at the time, I think, 10 or 11. Anyway, we wanted to get back to North America and get her settled, get her in all the sports and all that kind of stuff. But we ended up staying for another year in Germany. But it was great. It's just a different lifestyle over there. I love Europe. It's awesome. But no, I played as long as I could, and it was fun. I got no regrets.
Mace, have you ever heard of the 3 biggest lies in pro hockey? To go back to your loyalty story for a second.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear. I'll verify if I agree.
Checks in the mail. You're only going down for 2 weeks, and the third one we can't say publicly.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that.
Especially the third one. One question I had for you, and this is something I've been trying to just like decode on like a personal level. I feel like as men, we have this like inner like sense of duty and honor. Like the men on the Titanic, they would rather not get on a lifeboat and be known as cowards. So instead, they left their families and just went to freeze in the water. And like as a man, like when I was playing,
is this going into a cold plunge thing? Is that where you're going with the cold water?
We will later. This guy's scared of cold water. But I always found like when I was playing, I wanted to have that loyalty to the team that I'm playing for. Like, you guys picked me, you guys signed me, you guys are signing my paychecks every Wednesday for as little as it was. I want to give you my absolute best. And then learning there's zero loyalty. You're just an asset until you're no longer useful. And starting to realize, is this like sense of honor and duty and going down with the ship doing me a disservice? I think especially in the minor pro game it is, but it's something that I found like as men, we have, at least I anyway, have such like a strong sense of that, almost to a detriment. Do you relate to that at all?
Yeah, I do. As you get older, I think you start to understand the business side of things, and you realize like what some of the things people told you, they're full of shit, whether it's agents or teams, organizations. I found like coaches are usually, they're managing the team. They're just trying to win. And a lot of times it's management, and they've got a job to do too. But I think as a player, you're responsible to protect yourself. And, I didn't have that knowledge back when I played. I know you probably didn't either. Dave, you played junior, didn't you?
Yep. Yeah, I had a cup of coffee.
So that's even worse. That's even more cutthroat. It's, you come there for you move everything, you go 2 weeks, and like, we found this other guy from here. So sorry about that. Good luck. And you got nothing to do. So I think, having the knowledge and the education of, knowing what people are doing when they're saying something to you, and they're, full of crap, that, to be able to, kind of stand up and kind of whether it would change the decision or not. But I think, and I'm sure you're like this, Trav, you just give everything you can to your teammates. When you're out there, you work as hard as you can and you do all the right things there. And, the old, you can control what you can control, but I don't like the way that they, I guess, present it or deceive players into thinking, hey, we love you, you're great, and blah, blah, blah. A month later, you're gone. You're right, you're an asset. But I guess as a player, you have to understand that, especially when you get to this level of the NHL and guys are getting paid what they're getting paid. That's the business. It's not necessarily, I would say, conducted in honor all the time. And it's, a kick in the nuts. But I think that's just the reality of the game. And I don't think that's going to change.
Well, like you said, there's a lot more support now. I mean, the cautionary tales are more so through experience. But if you had an opportunity to go back and talk to Chris Mason back in 1995, through 2000, if you could have, grabbed him by the shoulders and said, all right, get ready, what are you telling him?
One thing that got me there was work ethic. It was, another thing too, is I realized is a little bit of luck. I mean, I played against a lot of guys in the minors that were better than guys I played with in the NHL. You're lucky sometimes. You get an opportunity and it's at the right time, at the right moment. You take advantage of that. And some guys never really get that opportunity. And that's tough to see, as guys that I think could have been good players in the National Hockey League that never got the opportunity for whatever reason because they didn't fit the mold there, or they're calling up a prospect that wasn't as good of a player, but they want to see their first rounder or second rounder. So this guy gets passed over. My advice would be to always, because it's tough, and you played pro, Trav, too, to always have that like belief in yourself. You as soon as you start getting every level, the higher level you get, there's more doubt creeps in. You're like, oh shit, maybe I'm not that good, or this guy's better. You see this guy and he's like, oh, look at him, he's awesome. And I think to make it to that level, you have to continue to like believe in your abilities. Like, I mean, nobody's better. I mean, that's one of the things that clicked for me to think that I could play at this level was when I used to skate in the summers in Sylvan Lake when Sean Burke was there, and we'd skate every summer. And I know summer's different for everybody. I'm sure you have this, Trav, when you skate in Winnipeg or wherever you skated, you go against guys and you're like, he's better than me, but I'm a kid right now. I'm playing junior. I'm like, but I think I can be there. I can get that good. I went to, New Jersey Devils camp. I was drafted by New Jersey. I went to their camp, and I see Mark Brodeur, Mike Dunham, Corey Schwab. They had a really good program in Albany. They just won the cup, and I was on the ice with all these guys, and I was like shit my pants at first. Like, holy shit, this is gonna be crazy. And then you start doing drills. You get into the games and stuff. I'm like, they're better than me right now, but I think I can get there. So you just got to believe in yourself, and obviously you have to do the right things. You got to be willing to work. That's the biggest thing. Be teachable. Listen, you're not always going to agree with, the goalie coach on what to do, but why not try? Why not try to do something or change your technique? And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, just, you can do what you're doing or find something else. But that's another thing that's been crazy is the evolution of the goaltending coach and now the position. So I just think that self-belief and work ethic is the biggest thing that I'd give anybody advice to. I think if you do that and commitment, if you've got the ability, you'll make it.
Can you tell me the difference? And I'm pretty sure I think I know what the answer is, and then I'm curious to know when it happened for you, but the difference between playing pro and being a pro.
It's everything. It's the preparation. It's doing all the things away from the game to get you ready for the game. Now it's the next level, and I do that in my life now. It's like nutrition, physical fitness. Like back in the day when I was growing up, like goalies didn't work out.
Oh, not only that, carb loading. Remember those days?
Yeah, carb loading. Like you just whatever someone told you did. The goalies don't work out. Just go stretch and do the splits in the corner. Oh, okay. So when I actually got drafted, I went back to junior. I didn't sign with New Jersey. I went to Anaheim, and they'd have the summer prospect camp. Mm-hmm. So we go down there and train for a month or a couple months. That changed my world. I was like, holy shit. I'm like, all these players would work out all the time. I'd go in there and do some stuff when I was in junior, but goalies never really trained back then. I'd go on the ice all summer, but I wouldn't be in the gym. And that changed my life. So I think learning those things along the way and like how much it takes. It's one thing to get there, but to stay there. And you've got guys that are first round picks every year. I mean, there's guys coming up and they want your job. And, being a good teammate, being a good person, I think a lot of people stay in the league even when, past their prime, because they're good teammates and because they can help, mentor younger players. So I think a lot of that goes into leading by example on the ice, off the ice, doing all those kind of things. I mean, you can have your fun, but, you have to be smart about it. So I think, those things as you get older, because you see examples of both. You see great examples of guys, people gravitate toward, a good leader or a bad leader. And, it's easy to go the guy that's always complaining or, bitching about he didn't get the ice time or he should be playing more. And that's easy to fall into that. But I don't think that's going to really get you anywhere. Or the guy that's like, I'm just going to go put my head down. I'm going to work. I'm going to, do everything I can. And I found those guys got opportunities more than the other.
It's interesting you mentioned that because I remember when I was playing, we'd have obviously like a group of scratches. And whenever the team would go on the road, if we're not traveling, the group of scratches would like watch the game live on TV and they'd be bitching, oh, look at this guy. He should get scratched. And I remember I said to them one time, I'm like, guys, I'm going to the gym. You don't want to watch the game? Well, bitching ain't going to get me anywhere. I'm going to go to the gym and do something, dude. Like, it's so easy to fall into that trap. Yeah,
it is. I mean, it's easy because, you're obviously you're I don't know, probably feel sorry for yourself a little bit, and you think I'm better than this guy, or I should be playing. And but it's how you conduct yourself, and I think, and it's tough. It's like when you're younger, you don't know, and I think when you get older, you see. I was fortunate enough to see a lot of examples of both early on in my pro career. And I'm like, I want to be like that guy, the way that he conducts himself. That's what a pro does. When I remember when I saw, not already been the pros for a while, but when I saw, there's levels to it too. Paul Kariya, the guy was an absolute savage. He was over the top. And I think you also need, for me, I mean, some people don't. I think the superstars don't probably have as much balance in their life as a lot of people. Like, they need the game, but that they're consumed by it. So everything he did, his stretching routine, his workout, was all about getting himself in the right mindset and physical space to perform. He would go, like, we stayed in Minnesota. I think it was the St. Paul. It's literally right across. It's like I don't know, 5-minute walk, not even. You go across this park or whatever, and you're in the rink. He would not go in there because he only would walk a certain amount of steps because he didn't want to waste his energy for the game. Like, it was like nuts. Like, he was nuts. But I admired how committed he was to performing. Like, it meant that much to him. And I remember him saying when we first traded for him, or when he first signed in Nashville, like, it was our first superstar, really. And it kind of changed the complexion of the Nashville Predators. And we had some really good teams when he played there. We had the team after training camp. We had the team dinner. And, Barry Trotz is a big guy, like, with team building. So he'd go around and, ask all these questions and different things, trying to get guys to know each other. And then at the end of the dinner, Paul Kariya stood up and he said, guys, he goes, I'm not a big drinker. I probably won't be out with you during the season. I want to win. I think our team can win the Stanley Cup. And I'll tell you what, if we win the Stanley Cup, I'll be the drunkest guy there. That's why everybody just, like, burst out laughing. It was hilarious. But no, he was a great guy. I played with him in St. Louis too. And just a really good leader from that.
I got to ask you, you've toured around the entire world in the NHL, both as a player and now as a broadcaster. In your professional experience and opinion, what is the best and the worst city and hotel that you've stayed at?
Oh, man. I would say that the best city is Vancouver, I think. Because I love going back to Canada. I was glad, like, when I went back to Winnipeg, I always wanted to play in Canada. That was, like, one of my highlights of my career. But I love going back. I mean, it's a beautiful city. I know you guys have been there a bunch, but it's just such a great city, just a good vibe, good hotel, good arena.
You guys stay at the Pan Pacific, or is that the waterfront?
Well, I've stayed all over Vancouver. Like, there's a Hotel Georgia. I think we're at the waterfront now, which is crazy. That's the other thing. You get to stay in sick hotels, but probably the worst, I would say, was the old Islanders hotel, and Winnipeg, the Deltas, probably. I hate to say it.
Hey, man, I prefer the honesty. Every time. And speaking of which, I'll give you a lot of credit. I don't think enough people give you this credit, because Wayne Gretzky is credited as bringing hockey down to the southern part of the United States. But when people first announced Nashville, and you and I are older to remember when they said Nashville's getting an expansion team, everyone went, really? Like, so many deserving cities in Canada that could have gotten one, but Nashville gets awarded one. And everyone expected it to be a slow growth, but it was really quick. And you were one of the first guys in that jersey, and you helped build that culture. And now when you're looking at a lot of USHL players, a lot of prospects, a lot of them are coming out, and that circle is starting to spread out a lot bit more. So from a guy who is from Red Deer, as a fellow Albertan born and raised in Fort McMurray, I remember our era and a lot of great hockey players coming out of Alberta. Are you starting to see that trend move up more and more in the Tennessee area?
Yeah, big time. I mean, I'll tell you, Nashville did a good job when they first came, because I think they obviously knew it's not a hockey market. I mean, I remember going to public skates and these hockey camps they'd put on, and players were literally wearing football helmets. Mm-hmm. And it was, hockey has not been here. They've had minor pro a little bit. They had a team back in the day, but it's baseball, football, basketball country. But they did such a good job of making all of the players accessible to the community, and they still do it to this day, which I think is really cool. So, like, all the fans, they've met the guys, they know the guys, they'll bust their chops and stuff. It probably gets annoying sometimes, I think, for the guys, at times, but they really did a good job of doing the grassroots, bringing the team in, making it feel part of the community. And then I think the big thing with the States and a city like Nashville is people stay here. They want to retire here. So there's so many now. JP Dumont runs the minor hockey program, and he's unbelievable at it. And there's a lot of pro hockey players that are the coaches of these teams. So they're getting professional coaching. It's not parents. They don't like parents or have any parents if they can at all possible to coach the teams. So they have pro hockey players coaching these kids, from 8, 9, 10 years old up. And I think when you see that, when you get that, the level of coaching that they get, it just it's skyrocketed. Now they've got, Nashville's got teams rated in the top 10 in the nation, top 25. Their girls team won the national championship. They've got it's crazy. It's nuts. And Florida's doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a bunch of guys down there. Tampa, every team that retires. Buffalo's actually got a really good retired base there. So I think, that matters. In Canada, my nephews play back in Red Deer. It's parents, it's volunteers. It's, you're not getting professional NHL, minor league, college hockey players.
Okay.
And that makes a huge difference.
Well, then explain to me, because you've had experience there, what was the difference between Nashville and Atlanta?
Atlanta, I think it's ownership. And I think I was there in the last year for Atlanta, but from a lot of guys that I talked to, it's they didn't really want to win. Atlanta was a crazy setup. The rink was downtown. It was a nice arena, but guys would live 40, 50 minutes an hour out of town. They'd stay in a hotel on the game day. You're not really connecting to the fan base. The owners didn't really want to win back then. They were happy to because when they did the profit sharing, if you have a certain amount of success, you don't get that. So it seemed like they always wanted to be in that window where they get the profit sharing. So I just think that, you got to win. At some point, you have to have a good team. You have to have a couple good runs in the playoffs. You have to, after a while, you're just I'm not going to go down there to downtown Atlanta to watch hockey anymore. It's just the same old thing. So I feel that they're going to get a team again, but they're going to move it outside of downtown, which I think will be good, because the Braves is on the other. They're southern. I think they're by the airport, which was their old Turner Stadium, which was not a great area. But now they're thriving. They've got good teams. They've won again. They've always had good teams, but they're starting to win again. But they're a little more north in a big, nice community, and they've just got a great setup there, and they're doing fine. So I think hockey could do fine back there, because their minor hockey is good. They've got good, because of the Thrashers are there. They've got a lot of guys that played for the Gwinnett Gladiators and stuff down there that are doing a really good job. So they've got a good youth program. So I think it could work there in the right spot.
What was the hotel like in Nashville or Atlanta that you stayed at?
It was good. Yeah, I'd stay down there sometimes. I live close enough, but that's the other thing. Traffic there. I live 6 miles from the rink. It could take me an hour to get there. It was nuts. It was crazy. It's that's the worst traffic I've ever seen.
Takes you an hour
But
to get to
the hotel there was good. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask, kind of because Winnipeg, I used to get a paycheck that had the logo up in the top left corner. Making that transition and being here as part of that, welcome back to the NHL, Winnipeg, getting to be part of that and seeing that firsthand. You even said coming back to Canada was a goal. I mean, that's a bunch of stars aligning for you. And from your perspective, what was that like?
That was amazing. That was honestly, I've always wanted Winnipeg to get a team back. I mean, Smythe Division, Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Vancouver, that's how I grew up watching hockey. And, I know I played with a lot of guys from Winnipeg. I know a lot of people from Winnipeg, and I know how much everyone there loves hockey. And, to go back and wear a jersey where it's got the maple leaf on it, I love the ownership there. I thought they were just really passionate. And I was actually the first player to come to Winnipeg, because I was I couldn't wait to get there. I rented Nolan Baumgartner's house. He was either playing or coaching somewhere. I can't remember at that point. But I rented his place during the season.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember too, because I know he ended up playing finished off in the American League down in San Antonio.
Yeah, I think he was playing still, because we're the same age or whatever. We played junior against each other. But anyway, I drove there, and I was just so excited to get there. And just, be a part of a culture that's just lives and breathes hockey. It was awesome. I remember it was kind of funny because every time we'd meet somebody, or, I was dropping my daughter off at school or whatever, like people were thanking like us, like me. There's like, oh, thanks for coming back. I'm like, I had nothing to do. Trust me, I'm happy. I'm happy to be here, but I had nothing to do with it. But it was awesome. And I just, I remember, dropping my daughter off at school, and I'd sit there and talk to dads and moms for like an hour about like, oh, yeah, how are you guys going to be this year, or during the season, about the power play and stuff like that. And before the season started, I remember I was driving back from the rink, and I had my family with me actually. And I saw a road hockey game, a street hockey game, and they're all playing. They had the Jets jerseys on and everything. And I'm like, I'm going to stop there and play. And I had my glove and blocker because I just got a new glove and blocker on, or because I was bringing it home to work it in. And so I pulled over, and I pulled my glove and blocker out, and I said, hey guys, can I play? And they're like, yeah, they knew who I was. I didn't know if they would. I was like, oh, this might backfire. But anyway, I ended up playing street hockey for an hour with the kids, and it was just, it was a blast. And it was awesome.
And you got that from Nashville. I love that.
Yeah, it was. But I just think, that's like, that reminded me of being a kid, because, you couldn't take me off the street hockey or whatever it was. And to see that, like, now the kids don't play here. It's not really made for that here. But, we used to do that all the time. You go back to Canada, and kids they're playing street hockey, or they're either, whether it's in a tennis court or wherever, an old, a rink that's got the board still up or whatever. And this just happened to be on a street that I was passing by. And I'm like, I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to go play some street hockey with these kids. It was cool.
How was being part of what I call Travis all the time, being part of the traveling circus while raising kids?
You just get used to it. And honestly, now I think it's made my kids so adaptable. I mean, I wasn't the most outgoing kid when I was a kid. So it would probably, but we moved around a lot too. And I just think it makes you adaptable. And, I guess you get to a certain age. My first kid when I was 30, she's 18 now. She's going off to college next year.
Congratulations.
I have a 13-year-old, a 7-year-old. But no, it was fine. You just did what you got to do. I mean, I could never complain, with doing what I was doing. I was living my dream. And I think the kids see that, and they're just like, all right, well, wherever we got to do, we'll do. So, and they've turned out great. They're all great kids, and they're doing well. So I think it worked out. But yeah, I did think about that. I think as I got older, because I think when you have kids, it like changes your mindset a little bit, in terms of, training and doing all these things. Like I was a savage. Like I would do everything I could possibly do, to come to camp in the best shape, and everything revolved around hockey. That was the only thing that I, was focused on. And when you have kids, it does change a little bit. And, you start looking ahead a little bit, and obviously you've got, people that you're responsible for. And so that was an adjustment, but I honestly can say that, my experience it was a great experience. I got to go live in Italy and Germany at the end of my career, and then we moved back here, and it worked out great.
Mace, I got a question for you, and I think this might start to slowly become a staple here on the show, on this week's episode of Finding Love. But full disclosure, so I'll be turning 29 shortly, and I'm getting to the point in my life where I'm looking at, I want to have kids soon, right? I want to have a family, and I want to find the right gal, because I'm a firm believer in the right gal will make my life infinitely better, but the wrong one will absolutely decimate it and destroy me. And I've learned from somebody, it's significantly easier and a lot cheaper to learn from other people's mistakes than make them yourself. So as a seasoned gentleman with a lot of salt and pepper, where the salt looks a little bit better than the pepper, if I might add, the only man we've had in the show with a beard better than mine, what advice would you give as far as with the having kids, finding the right woman, not making the wrong decision, and doing that all while traveling? Because although I'm done playing pro hockey, I'm still traveling for my new travel series and for our show and all that other stuff. So floor is yours, my friend.
Well, I'll give you some advice. I've been divorced for 5 years. I married my high school sweetheart. We had a great relationship. She's the mother of our 3 children. And I think when we got to COVID, we kind of stopped working on our relationship. And that's probably the biggest thing I would say is you got to work on your relationship. And we didn't really do that, at the end. And it was too bad. I look back and that's something I regret, because, I've been in a relationship now with, I got a great girl now. And I'm a better communicator, and I don't think I was. It's hard for guys sometimes too to like, you're like, hey, are you okay? Everything good? Yeah, everything's fine. Nothing's ever wrong. But I think, being able to say that, and it actually gets harder, I think, the longer you're with somebody. It's maybe easier at first, but I think the longer you're with somebody, you just kind of get in your like rut or whatever, if you're in that rut, and you just kind of just coast. You're like, hey, it's just the way it is. And, you don't spice things up, or you don't, make time to go on dates or do fun things and, get babysitters for the kids and go to a concert or whatever. And I think that's kind of where I got, at the end of our marriage. But now I think, I'm a lot better. I'm more cognizant of kind of what went wrong. And so now communication's way better. She's a great communicator, and you get it all out, and then, you're able to kind of move on a little better. Because I think, you've been at Wheels, you've been what? I was watching your guys' podcast, 16 years now? You've been off the market, apparently?
Yeah, coming up on, I guess, 13 years. We're celebrating our anniversary here. Yeah. Feels good.
So I'm sure you got some insight in that, but I think it's like, it's easy just to get stagnant, and that's not good. You want both people to be happy and satisfied, and make sure you're taking care of them, they're taking care of you. And so I just think it's like anything. You just got to work at it. And I think I learned from that. So I'm at a good spot now. I got a great girl, and we communicate well. And
I always say once my wife sobers up and gets glasses, I'm in big trouble.
Well, the looks go away too, by the way. You could be with the hottest girl in the world or the hottest guy, and after a while it wears thin. You got to have some substance and some character and all that kind of stuff.
I'm trying to look at that as well, because I know, Dave and I talk about this a lot off the show, and I feel like even though he's been off the market for so long, like the modern day woman, in my experience, has just changed so much, especially for my age. And you can find the hottest girl in the world, like you said, but like, where is the woman that's going to stick with you through thick and thin, ride or die, and be an absolute compliment and be the mother that my children deserve type of deal? It's hard to find in this economy. It really, really is.
Well, Maze, not to jump in here, but you and I were from the generation where we didn't have, the swipe left or swipe right. And I tell them all the time, like I couldn't even imagine ordering via menu.
No, I've never been on Tinder or whatever the ones are now. But so I have no experience. I know a lot of guys were. So you'd find like, oh, what do you do? Like, it's just to me, it's just, but people meet there all the time. And I guess it's just, once you meet somebody, you have to find that connection. But I got introduced to my girlfriend from a friend. So it wasn't too long after my divorce. But I never had the experience of like actually dating people, like, and just, trying to, I don't think, maybe when I was younger, that would have been something that would appeal to me. But, when you get older, you got kids, and Trav, you're in a different situation, but it's tough. Like I got lucky. But yeah, I can't, it would just, sometimes you'd be into a date, probably, I'm guessing a minute or 2 minutes in, and you're like, oh, like, now do I got to sit here and buy, drinks and dinner all night, waste my whole time when like you're probably, it's dead in the water, I don't know. That'd be a weird experience.
I've had a few of those, dude. One that comes to mind for me, I took this girl for a coffee date maybe like a year and a half, 2 years ago. We go to Starbucks, corner of Pender and Seymour in Vancouver, right by the waterfront station. And this gal, actually, she works for the Canucks. I think she still works for the Canucks in like broadcasting and like sales or whatever she did. 5'9", nice curves. I like curvy. I don't like too athletic. That's my type. She was a brunette. I'd prefer blonde, but this was doable and serviceable in this situation. So I go and meet her. Good looking girl. Hi, nice to see ya. I'm at this point in time 27. She's 23. Sit down for a coffee. I'm facing the lobby, I guess, like where all the people are sitting. She's facing me. And within about 4 to 5 minutes, she's just blasting her dad for what a terrible person he is and all these virtuous signals. And she's getting like louder and louder and perking up. Uh-oh. And I can see like in the dining hall, people are like starting to look at me like, what is going on? And it was at this point, I'm like, man, this is an absolute write-off.
Yeah, no, see ya.
It sounds like you and I dodged a lot of bullets, Mace.
Oh my God, seriously, that just does not appeal. I would just hate that.
It's tough,
but I mean, again, you got to, let's say though, you got to do that, I don't know, 15, 20 times, and you find the right one, then it's worth it, I guess.
You got to slay a few dragons to get to your princess, man.
Yeah, there you go.
I guess it depends on many. I know, Matt tells me all the time, because like he married his high school sweetheart, and they're still going strong. And he tells me the analogy of, I found a stock, paid good dividends, I locked it in, and it's just appreciating more and more and more. I couldn't be any better off. And think to myself, like, the game has changed. Like, I don't know if I told you, I did a photo shoot to update all my dating app photos the other day because, dude, the game is so competitive. The game is so competitive. I saw a stat that like 80% of women are disgusted by 80% of men, so they only want the top. So when you're on these dating apps where you're just one swipe away, it's like you've got to capture the attention. Kind of like with this show and our clips, you got to get their attention. You got to do it now.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Well, I see you crushing weights in the gym there, throwing that out there on the old Insta.
I know. Mace responds to my story the other day. Atta boy.
That's good for you. Yeah, that's good, buddy. I love it.
I think I posted that one the other day that was like, Red Bull doesn't give you wings, lat pull downs do.
Yeah, that was great. That was awesome.
That's one thing, Mace, I think you and I have the advantage of, and unfortunately our generation was a little late on the uptake, but it's not too late for us. But this generation is so cognizant of health and working out, and I mean, you're dealing with a lot of these players, and we talked a little bit earlier about the difference between, the Gen Xers who came up playing hockey where it was going for beers after, now so it's more guys going upstairs and playing Fortnite until the wee hours of the morning, but being really like non-drinkers, like they have different vices than our generation.
Yeah, they totally do. Like I'm on board with a lot of them, but again, I think it comes back to balance. Like the health thing it really appeals to me now. And I remember actually David Poyle said when my last year, or when I came back as a broadcaster, he goes, he said, you better be careful because, you go on the plane and there's like food everywhere. Everywhere you go, there's food. And he said, now you got to be a little more careful what you eat, because you're done playing. And it's true. Mm-hmm. It's true. Like you can't just eat what I used to eat and the carb load that you're talking about earlier. So now I'm very cognizant on the health thing. I think is great. But at the same time, I think, there's a very important aspect of hanging out with your teammates, getting to know guys away from the rink, because, when you get to, pro and there's, you're playing with a 35-year-old that's got 3 kids, and you're trying to connect with an 18-year-old and you're at the rink for 3 hours and you got to watch video for an hour and practice for an hour. And, you don't really get to know people that much. So I think like team bonding, going for dinners, and if you don't drink, you don't drink. That's fine. That's good. Good for you. But, just being in those situations and making, the effort to have the balance instead of saying, no, I'm just going to go back and play Fortnite and, stay in my room and get up and, do my whole thing again. So I think that's what good teams, good players, good leaders, I think is you have to have the balance of all those things, because we didn't know anything wheels back. Like in the day, like there was no direction. We'd stop on the bus. We'd get McDonald's. I remember driving back from Kamloops. That was back when the Memorial Cups at Jerome McGinley and all those guys, and we just got smoked like 10-0. And so we stopped back. It's a 6.5 hour bus ride. We drive back after the game. We stop like half an hour outside of Prince George, and then we get to the rink and he goes, all right, fucking put the gear on, boy. Just like soaked. We just had McDonald's. Everybody was puking. But that was just standards. Whatever the cheapest meal was, we'd have, and that's just the way it was. But now these guys, they're dialed in.
Mm-hmm. No, it's really impressive. I want to roll out the red carpet for you a little bit. I'm curious, and I really understood how much you love the industry, after you kind of got into it. But the fact that being the analyst and traveling with the team isn't quite filling your cup enough behind the microphone. Tell us about the podcast and how it started.
Well, we've been doing. I do with Hal Gill. We've kind of taken a little hiatus here with all the kids' sports stuff and everything, and we kind of wanted to do a podcast about kind of mistakes and stuff that we've made, and just about life things, about traveling. Trav, I know you do a blog too about traveling, and I think that stuff that really appeals to me. And so we just kind of wanted to let people give a little inside look at like what we do. Dad guilt. You're gone for a week. I'm obviously divorced, so when I get home for like 3 days, we'll have, or for 4 days or a week, we'll have 2 games in there. I got to make sure I get the kids to their sports and do all that kind of stuff, and have them here. And it can be a little rigmarole, or if you will. But so we just kind of want to talk about that kind of stuff, and just let people into the behind the scenes kind of stuff. And Skills, that guy's a beauty, man. He's a bag checker. He's a godfather of bag checking. That guy literally. We get to the hotel, he chucks his bag and he's right out the door. Goes get the coffee and then bellies up somewhere, and he's a savage.
I relate to that, man. You got to find that good cup of joe somewhere in town.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
Now, I know Trav is going to dig a little deeper into this, but I'll start off by saying I always appreciated your style. You looked really good in Winnipeg Jets colors. Your helmet was always on point. I know he's going to kind of dig a little bit into the minutia of the gear, but how important was that to you?
Oh, my God. I don't know what you're like, Travi, but I loved it. Like if I was going to a new team in the summer, like I used to draw a lot, so I'd draw my masks out. I had a sick Winnipeg Jets one. He had Eddie as the Grim Reaper from Iron Maiden. I had him all drawn up and ended up not signing back with Winnipeg, but that was a missed opportunity there. But I love the gear now with all the customization that they can do like online and stuff. That was kind of coming out where you could pick all the different color slots in your pads and stuff like that. But I love that stuff. That's what made me want to be a goalie, actually, was the gear. Because I played out till I was 11, and taking turns as the goalie whenever they they let the other guys play goal or whatever. And then the gear was I was just enamored by it. So I loved it. It was probably one of the best parts of being a goalie for me.
I don't know if you remember it, Mace, but I remember the Reebok Premier Force. This must have been 2011, 12-ish. And I remember the marketing campaign. We have 7 color zones. And I remember seeing them be like, oh my God, dude, I can do so much with 7 color zones. And now they're advertising 40 color zones, and you can do all these custom graphics on the stuff, which is so cool. And I almost feel like it was almost more special when you had not a lot to work with, but you made something really beautiful, as opposed to now you can do whatever you want. Actually, I think your boy behind you, Pekka Rinne, I remember, I think he was the first one to ever do like custom color modifications on a Reebok set, which was the Premier 3s. And I remember he had like a custom navy colored gusset on the outside, and I thought that like dark color on the outside complemented the white roll to the pet. Like it just looks so good.
Love it.
And for the rest of my days, I always had the colored gusset because of him. I thought it looked so good.
It's so good, and it doesn't get like halfway through the season, it's not like black with puck marks, so it's like it looks awesome. But that's what I think Reebok they wanted everyone to wear what people were going to buy in the store. But now I used to wear Brian's, and I wore a bunch of different ones, but Brian's was the most customizable pad, like because they were a smaller company, and they would do the custom graphics. On my Winnipeg pads were just awesome. I actually gave them to the trainers after the season in Winnipeg, but they were just like anything you wanted, any kind of graphic, they would kind of mock it up and send it to you, and it was just so awesome to get that kind of stuff. Now it's just you can get whatever you want, but it's definitely one of the funnest parts.
Did you have a favorite graphic you look back on? Because it's interesting you mentioned the Brian stuff. They still do the handcrafted, hand stitched, and all the beautiful retro looks and all the retro designs. Like even today in 2025, they still don't make them the way they did in the mid 2000s. And I remember the Brian's Beast, the Brian's Demon. I remember Gar Snow pioneered those. The Trevor Kidd, a la checkerboard Trevor Kidd, and the DX2s. Those are like just so many amazing designs. Was there one that stuck out to you? I know you went with the custom, but was there one where you're like, I want to do that?
Well, there's ones I love, all goalie masks and equipment and everything. And the ones that I kind of like that were different were, do you remember the Bauer? Were they the Bauer ones? Nikolai Habibulin for them.
Ooh,
They kind of, that's when they started getting rid of the rolls and they kind of changed the knee area. I can't remember if they're Bauer ones, but those ones kind of stuck out to me. Like, oh shit! I'm like, that's cool. That's different. I love the Vaughn Legacies because they started going to more of a flatter. They had the big breaks where it would be a little more flexible. I didn't never like the straight pad. I could never wear those for whatever reason. So I like the ones that
Jose Theodore Legacy, right?
Yeah. Those I love Vaughn as a kid. Man, I just, there were so many. I wasn't a Reebok or CCM guy just because they were more stiff, straighter pads, but I liked them on other guys. I just couldn't wear them.
Those Legacies, I remember Theodore wore them, and I think it might have been Roman Turek. He wore those Vaughn Legacies as well. But if I could tell you a quick story for a second. So like Theodore was like my idol growing up. He was like the man as far as I was concerned. And we posted a clip a while ago just talking about the dude had like the sweetest helmet. He had the gargoyles and like the color combinations, the colored cage. He was one of the first to do the colored cage, the beautiful Vaughn Legacy setup. He wins the Hart, the Vezina, and most importantly, he had the hottest chicks, dude. He was dicing up Paris Hilton for a summer. He always had a good looking girl. And true story, posted that clip. I've been trying to hunt down a contact for years to try to get Jose Theodore on the podcast. If there's one guy I want to interview him. I get a cold email maybe like less than a month ago. Hey, Jose Theodore here, looking for Travis. Saw your clip. Come on your show anytime, dude.
No way.
He hasn't responded to my response, which I'm kind of heartbroken over, but that just like made my entire year. That like my childhood idol. I had posters of this dude. I'd be getting flamed at school. You got a Colorado Theodore jersey, like the purple one that had like the Colorado diagonal. Like this guy was my idol. I just thought that was like the coolest thing. And he had such sick style with the flow too, and yeah.
Yeah, he looks like a model. I mean, I played in Montreal too, and no, he was good. I liked he was he caught like you do. You catch right-handed too, don't you?
Yep, southpaw. Only
Yep,
difference
yeah,
between him and I,
southpaw.
he always had black skates, and I refused to wear black skates.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he did. Yeah, that's hilarious. Oh yeah, you're the goalie nerd too. You got all the gear. I remember when I was wearing Brian's. This is the other thing, just to be a quick one too. But they came out with all the Velcro strapping. And I remember talking to like all the other reps from all the equipment companies, and they're like, Velcro? Why are you wearing Velcro? I'm like, well, I put my pads on in 2 seconds instead of 10 minutes. I said, it's awesome. I'm like, you can, whatever. And they're like, oh, that'll never stick. Now everyone's Velcro.
Yeah.
Well, I remember that the Brian Sub-Zero, that was the first ever line with the Velcro, and I remember hearing that too. Oh, Velcro, that's stupid. Leather buckles are here to stay. Now, I don't know if you feel the same way, Mace, but anytime I hear a goalie walking with leather buckles, I think, boomer.
Oh,
Nobody wears buckles anymore.
They're just stuck. Why not? Like, it's unbelievable. Yeah, I knew it was going to go that way. It's just so much better. But yeah, that was fine. That was a good one. But I just loved how everyone's like, oh, Velcro, that's never going to stick or whatever. I'm like, oh, I bet it will. It takes me 2 seconds to put my pads on.
You were one of the first with the smart strap system, but you were also, correct me if I'm wrong, you were one of the first to rock like a blade tape instead of actual tape in the show, right?
Yeah, I did that too. I tried it. I actually liked it because there wasn't tape on the bottom. And I just, for whatever reason, I just felt, at first I didn't know if I'd like it, but you could customize that too. And that was pretty cool, but I just liked how it felt. Like if I didn't like it, I wasn't going to use it, obviously, but I just liked how it felt. It was a little rubbery. So I felt like I had more control with directing rebounds and stuff like that. And yeah, stuck with that, and it was good.
It's amazing, and I've heard this more so in relation to skateboarding and sports like that, where the sport influenced the video game, which in turn influenced the sport. But I'm kind of hearing from you guys nerd out about this, is that the customization that I'm hearing kind of sparked from being able to play video games where you can pick your colors and do all that kind of stuff, and now it landed back in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody likes that. I mean, yeah, you can do it if you buy a pair of shoes somewhere. If you want to customize, you can bands, you can put graphics on it. You can send a picture. You can get like a picture of whatever you want on the side of your shoe. And I think it's a good marketing thing to have that option, because you're probably not buying the shoes, or necessarily going to buy an extra pair of shoes if you don't have that, customization aspect of it. And it's so easy now with technology. I mean, it's crazy. Back then it would probably be a lot more difficult, but now you just go on an app or on a website or whatever, and they've got all the color things in. It probably takes 2 weeks to make and ship it over. But I just think that's, a way for somebody to wear a piece of clothing or an item or something like that that's, their own, that, they like whatever color scheme of their team or just whatever they like. And, you can get it exactly how you like. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be buying extra shoes or extra whatevers.
Kind of the way we customize our tattoos, right, Mace?
Yep, exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Probably regret some, but some you don't.
Out of curiosity, and I love hearing this because I've heard one of my favorite stories was Lee Gorin, a guy you may or may not remember playing against. He told the story about when he first played with the Bruins and had to line up against Mario Lemieux. Did you have that moment in the NHL where you went, oh shit, that's the guy, and you got the butterflies?
Yes. The first NHL game that I actually played in, I didn't start. I was on the bench. We're in Anaheim, and we're getting pumped. This Nashville, we were not good back in the day. And we're playing Anaheim as Timo Solani, Paul Kariya. I don't know if Niedermeyer was there or not. But anyway, we're getting the game's going on. It's in the second period, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 6-0. And I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, am I going in here? And sure enough, after the period, Trotz goes, get your stuff, you're going in. And I'm like, oh my God, we're just getting smoked. So that was kind of the one. That was like, there's certain moments I think where, that I can remember it like it was yesterday. There's a lot of moments where I don't, but that one in particular was one where I was shitting my pants. I was like, holy shit. And, I played the minors for 6 years, and you never know when you get this opportunity. And, my goalie coach is saying, you're not playing a lot. You got to be ready, prepare. And that's like I used to prepare every game like I was going to play that game. So I would do game day, like everything like I was going to play, just in case for that moment. Right. And so that was the one where I was like, I kind of like felt like I blacked out a little bit. Like I was like, it felt like I was just there, but I wasn't there. So that's one that sticks out to me because I'm like, I don't know if it was my first or no, it was my second shot. Paul Kariya's on a breakaway. And I was like, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, holy Paul Kariya's, we got Paul Kariya coming on a breakaway against me. And I ended up, I poke checked. I never poke check anybody. He came in from the side and I poke checked him for some reason and I stopped him or whatever. I'm like, why did I just do that? But anyway, it went well. I only had 8 shots, but I stopped all 8. But that was probably the one where I was, the big moment where I was like, holy crap, I can't believe this is happening.
You've mentioned the name a couple of times, and you can make the choice if you want to authenticate this or not. I will lead you into it. You take over. Was there a specific phone call coming in from Manitoban legendary coach Barry Trotz, who phoned a hotel room once upon a time with the Nashville Predators, and a certain somebody answered that phone?
How did you guys hear this? That is hilarious. How do you know? Travi got this one or what?
I can't confirm my sources, but I reached around. Don't worry.
So no, that's hilarious. So here's the scenario. So we're playing in Detroit that night, and it was a weird thing. So we had a makeup game because we played that game where, remember, Yuri Fisher had a heart attack.
Oh my God! Yeah, who can forget?
Yeah, that was crazy. Jeez. Anyway, so we had to make up the rest of that game. So we're gonna play 2 games, and it was, I don't know, it was 1-0 or something like that. I think we were winning, something like that, or it was 1-1. I can't remember exactly. So this was whatever, way later in the season. So we win the rest of that first game. We won the second game, and then so we're flying to Minnesota. So we get to Minnesota, we land, we're getting in, we're like, oh, we're going out, boys, we're going out. So we're like, whatever, St. Paul, it's not open late, it was nothing. So we're trying to hurry. So it's literally 20 guys going in the room, door slamming. Some guy comes out of the room and he goes, hey, keep it down. Scott Hartnell goes, you think it's not loud now? Wait till 2 a.m. So anyway, we're done. We go to the bar, we go to the pub, come back to the room. We had a couple joining rooms or whatever. And, we're having beers and stuff like that. And it was loud. And so I get a phone call. Darcy Hordichuk just left the room. And I get a call to the room. And he goes, hey, is there any Nashville Predators there? I said, nope. I said, only 50 goal scorers in this room. And he goes, who is this? I said, it's Ricky Ricardo. And then hung up the phone. So literally 5 minutes later, boom, big knock on the door. It's Barry Trotz. And I open the door. I'm like, a Trotzy. And he goes, everybody get the out of here. Go back to your rooms or whatever. And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, we got to wrap it up, guys. So, it was a fun night, but it ended, and we got smoked, too, against Mini 5-1. So 2 nights later.
I appreciate you channeling your inner Jim Carrey on that one.
Yeah, no, it was that's another memory that sticks out because that was a funny one, and I put $200 and I've just put RR on the board. I got the trainer to do it so nobody know who is Ricky Ricardo because Barry Trotz he said, who the Ricky Ricardo? No one told him. I told him. I see him on the plane now, and he still brings that up.
Oh, amazing.
You get a fine in court for that or no?
No
fine, no credit.
Paid up front.
I paid the money.
$200.
I paid the money we lost, but I still paid the money.
Man,
I took the fall. For the boys.
Is there an outrageous court story or a fine or a credit that you got that comes to mind that sticks out in your entire playing career?
No, I think we did that probably more in the minors. I got another good one that it's not a fine, but we got caught doing something in Milwaukee. It was all-star break, and a lot of the team went on vacation or did whatever, and then me and my 2 best friends stayed back, and we're just like, I want to stay here and just we had a Sunday night karaoke place we'd always go to and just have fun here. And we went to the rink every day. We used to play a lot of pong, so we go in there, play ping pong, do our tournaments, and so one time after the bar, we came back, and my buddy, he goes to the security guard. He goes, hey, I forgot my wallet. He goes, can you let me in and get my wallet? Well, he runs around to the front doors and he lets us all in the room. So we're in there, we're like drinking beers, playing pong and, doing all this stuff. And the security guard comes back and he's like, hey guys, he's like, I got to kick you out. He goes, sorry about that. He goes, if you had told me you're going to come in, he goes, I probably would let you, but there's security cams and all this kind of stuff. So you gotta go. So we got in, the weekend is over. My friend who got called in, he was the one who went to the security. He got called in the office, and he got major shit. And he didn't rat me out or rat my other buddy out. But so I went in there. I said, hey, I just want you to know I was in there too. I just don't want him to take the fall for it completely. And he goes, well, you guys are in shit. So we had to pay like big fine to the team and all that stuff. Nashville ended up calling and getting involved, and but we had a great night. We had a great weekend. And
anything else, Trevor? You want to take them home?
I got a couple more. I wanted to know if you ever had an NHL idol growing up, or even when you were playing, you're like, that guy's the man, kind of like how I described Theodore. Who was your guy, Mace?
Yeah, well, my favorite team growing up was the Calgary Flames. But my favorite
I was going to ask, as a Red Deer guy, it's one way or the other.
Yeah, my dad was a Flames fan. He lived in Calgary for a bunch of years before we moved to Red Deer. And so he was a Flames fan. So I was inherently a Flames fan. But I loved Andy Moog. He played he was my favorite guy because when I was 11, and then, when you go to Adam Hockey, I don't know if they still call it that up there, but I went to his hockey school in Penticton, and he was just such a nice guy. He was awesome.
Was that the Okanagan Hockey School?
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to the same one. Yeah. Great school.
Yeah, it's a great hockey school. So, but he was there, and I liked him already, and that's why I went there. And then when I met him, I liked him even more. So he was the guy. He was my guy. Andy Moog was by far my favorite goalie.
A little bit before my time.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But he's popular. But
Andy Moog in Alberta, Andy Moog in Dallas.
Yes, I remember. I think I think he has a son that actually follows our Instagram account. Now I'm thinking about it. I remember seeing him interacting with some. Anyway, I also wanted to ask you too about the legend. You got him behind you, Pekka Rinne. You must have seen the come up at the very, very start when he's backing up in the American League, and then he rises to become the starter, arguably the greatest player in Nashville Predators history. And then you join the broadcast team, and you watch him just put the team on his back, carry him all the way to the Mug final. What was that like?
Well, first of all, he's like just an unbelievable human. He's just the nicest. He's the best guy. I mean, you'd love him. He's funny. He's outgoing. He's kind. He's all the things. He's almost a perfect human being, really.
So pretty standard Scandinavian.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But I remember the first time I saw him was at a training camp, and he comes over. He had I can't remember what European, he had this goofy European helmet on. He's, that was back in the day where guys that big, he's 6'5", were all like big blockers. So they'd come and they'd, be like kind of robots. And this guy was a freak. Like, he was the most athletic, flexible, quick goaltender. I'd never really seen anybody like him that size. I think, he came in, he kind of revolutionized. That was kind of the part of goaltending that really changed, where these big guys are becoming athletes. And I just remember I told the goalie coach, I go, holy shit. I'm like, this guy is going to be a star. And I knew he was going to take my job one day, which was a few years later. But no, there's certain guys that you see. Vasilevsky was another one that when I saw him, I'm just like, wow. I'm like, it's like nothing you've seen before. And you know that, Travi, too, when you probably see certain guys, you're like, well, that guy can just do things that, most goalies can't do. And that's when I saw him, I just was blown away. And then, the position evolved so much, and he had his athleticism, but he was really scrambly, relied on it too much, and he wasn't as positional. And, UC Saros came up, and he is, probably one of the most technical goaltenders. He's almost a perfect goaltender in a smaller frame. And Pekka, it's hard to change your genetics, your DNA, something that you've been doing for, your whole life. He revamped his style. So he became a lot more controlled, he still had the athleticism, but he was getting older. And that's when he won the Vezina. Like, he was struggling a little bit. It looked like Saros was probably going to take over, or maybe Pekka's days were done. And he completely changed his style. And that's not easy to do. And he was incredible at it, but he just dialed it in. He was so much more technical and just aware where he was in the net, going back to his posts, more upright. Like, Pekka's 6'5", but he'd play, down like this, crunched over, and brought his upper body up a lot more. And, he ended up, winning the Vezina and going to the Stanley Cup final. So it says a lot about him, but he's got a work ethic like you wouldn't believe.
Okay, go ahead, and then I've got an Iron Maiden question. So hurry up, because I know he wants to hear this one.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. I remember the season after you backed him up in 12-13, the lockout season, he had the hip surgery, the double hip surgery, and then he had the hip infection, And I think that was the start of him revamping and retooling his entire game, correct?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, he did. But it took him a while. Like the goalie, they had to kind of, fight a little bit, I think, or there was some resistance there. And I think
it's Ben Vanderklook, right?
Yeah, it was a couple years after that. I think it was more when UC Saros got there. That might have been 2015, 16-ish is probably when the transition really took, it took place. And it was from then on, he was fully committed. But it was more when he saw Saros every day. When you're a goalie partner, you watch the other guy and, you take things from other goalies that you like, or you try something, and, having that combination, which helped Saros too, because he was so technical, but he saw Pekka's ability to get out of structure, to be able to battle. There's certain times where you can be as technical as you want, but you got to scramble. You got to try to make the save no matter what the situation. And so I think it was, kind of a match made in heaven there. And it's helped, UC Saros, I think, too, just being able to have that skill set in his pocket as well. But I think it was 2015, 16 when Saros came, and that's kind of when it took over.
Well, I mean, obviously I have my biases, but when he totally just ran the team up the flagpole to the Cup final in 16-17, and then obviously playing Muzz and the Penguins in the final, that's probably got to be my favorite Cup final goalie matchup of the last decade, of two 6'5" guys going head-to-head. How many shutouts did you have? I think Muzz had back-to-back shutouts to start the series. Pekka had one in game 3, I think it was, and then Muzz had another one to finish off and close out the series. What a goalie duel that was. And like you said, one of the most athletic. It's 6'5". I mean, I know firsthand, we break down fast. We're not built to last. We're kind of like Great Danes. We're bred for performance, not for a long time. And just the fact that he was able to do it for so long, so many wins, great style too as well, and 6'5", good-looking Scandinavian. Can't complain there.
Yeah, no, he's a legend. He really is. And it's just the fact that he's such a great guy. I mean, we all know a bunch of guys that are, good guys. Most guys are good guys and great guys and whatever. But he was just, he's one of the best guys I've ever played with, and had the work ethic. He cared so much. He never wanted to play for another team. He was just the epitome of a pro hockey player, and just game, plus hilarious too. I'll tell you some stories off air one time if we ever get together in Winnipeg or whatever. But no, just an awesome guy.
I got to ask you, did you ever get him to do an ice plunge with you yet?
He does it, I think. He played a pro game this year, actually. He's kind of he's a goalie consultant for the Preds in Europe. But he's still in great shape. I saw him at the beginning of the season, and he played a pro game, I think, this year. He still plays with a bunch of the alumni back in Finland.
Good for him.
Yeah, I think second division, they threw him right in the cooker. Hadn't played in God knows how long. 46 of 48, couple of big pad stops. Looked like classic Pekka Rinne.
Yeah, he looked good. Yeah, it's hilarious.
Don't overthink it. In order, Paul Di'Anno, Blaze Bayley, Bruce Dickinson, favorite album and favorite Eddie.
Well, you're going to be disappointed, Dave, because I did the Eddie more for the artist. I like Iron Maiden, but I can't remember the artist's name now. He sent me a book, and I feel like an idiot right now. But he's got a bunch of art and a bunch of books, and I loved the character, so that was kind of the main reason why I went with Eddie from Iron Maiden. So I like Iron Maiden, but I can't. I don't think I could help you with the album song.
That's all right. I just love the imagery in the background with the Nashville Predator Trooper goaltender in the back. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was from when they had I went to that concert, actually. It's when Iron Maiden came to Bridgestone Arena. We went to the concert, and they gave me that. I didn't meet them or anything, but they said my mask was in the display case, my Nashville Iron Maiden mask, and so they gave me those. They said I could have those things.
That's awesome. I love it.
Well, we got an episode coming up with Jamie McLennan, and he says, "Don't meet your idols; they'll be disappointing." So maybe it's better that you didn't.
Oh, Noodles. That'll be a fun one. He's a character.
Oh, he's good, dude. Well, anyway, we're looking forward to seeing you in Winnipeg sometime in the future, man. Hopefully, you don't get the Winnipeg handshake walking out of the airport before we catch up with you, but.
Well, I hope so. I hope next time we come, we get together and have a.
Oh no, we definitely will. He's just saying that sometimes things can get like the LA riots here in Winnipeg with the old, Winnipeg handshake. But that's neither here nor there. Take him home, Travis Ridgen.
Well, typically you shake someone's hand, but in Winnipeg they give you right to the chest, and then they take whatever off you afterwards. But anyway.
Oh yeah. There you go. I can see that in some streets.
They shoot first and ask questions later. But
areas you don't want to take the.
Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for listening to this episode of the show with Nashville Predators legend and current color play-by-play commentator Chris Mason. Like I said earlier, the only man with a better beard than this guy. We do new episodes every single Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 in the Prairies, 9 in the foothills of Calgary and Saskatoon during daylight savings, and 8 in the Pacific Northwest. I'm Travis. That's Dave. Hit the subscribe button for more episodes like this. Leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. The clips are on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. And we will see you next Sunday.